The planet Velor was once full of life. Its cities floated above crystal lakes, its skies shimmered with soft green light, and its people lived in peace for generations. They were known for their kindness, their art, and their belief that the galaxy was a place of harmony. But peace ended in a single moment. Without warning, an enemy fleet appeared in orbit, black ships with no symbols, no flags, and no mercy. They came like a shadow, blocking out the sun. The first strike destroyed Velor's largest spaceport. The second wave hit their communication towers. Then the ground forces landed. Velorians were not built for war. Their defense systems were outdated, their soldiers too few, their weapons old. They tried to fight, but it was like throwing stones at fire. The enemy advanced city by city, leaving behind smoke and ash. People ran, hiding in underground bunkers, praying someone out there would hear their cries. The Velorian Council, desperate and frightened, sent out distress calls across every frequency they had. They called to the Galactic Council. They called to their old trade allies. They even broadcasted to pirate frequencies, begging anyone for help. Days passed. No reply came. The stars remained silent. The Galactic Council did receive the signal. So did dozens of other planets. But none of them acted. Some thought Velor was too far to save. Others feared the unknown attackers. A few simply didn't care. The universe had become cold. Empires looked after only themselves, and in that silence, Velor began to die. Inside a deep mountain shelter, Councilwoman Elia watched as her home burned. Her hands trembled, her voice cracked as she tried again and again to send messages. Her team had been awake for 3 straight days, monitoring every incoming signal. But the screen stayed empty. One technician whispered, "No one's coming." Elia didn't respond. She just stared at the blinking red lights, each one marking a city lost. Her people, once proud and hopeful, now cried in fear. Parents held their children tight, hoping the bunkers would hold. Soldiers, outnumbered and outgunned, made last stands in broken streets. The enemy moved without emotion. They killed without reason. But in the dark corners of the galaxy, there was one place that had not forgotten what it meant to be ignored: Earth. Humanity had changed in the past century. After surviving near extinction during the solar wars, they rebuilt stronger than ever. Earth had once been ignored too, looked down on by the same Galactic Council that now turned away from Velor. But humans learned, grew, and prepared. They became watchers of the stars, listeners of forgotten voices. On a quiet listening station near the edge of the Sol system, a low-level technician named Riley picked up a strange signal. At first, he thought it was a glitch, but as he adjusted the filters, the message became clear. A voice shaking and full of fear spoke in the old galactic common language. "This is Velor. We are under attack. Please, anyone, help us." Riley stood up from his chair. "Commander," he called, "you need to hear this." Within hours, the message had reached Earth's high command. They didn't call a full council. There was no debate. The leaders of Earth had seen too much war to waste time on politics. One general asked a simple question: "Do we help?" The room fell silent for a moment. Then the answer came, not with words but with action. Orders were given. Fleets were prepped. Earth's 7th Fleet, known as the Black Storm, was put on alert. Soldiers boarded their ships. Engineers loaded weapons. Drones were activated. From orbit to ground, everything moved fast. Earth wasn't just sending aid. It was sending fury. Back on Velor, no one knew what was coming. The sky remained red. The enemy continued its march. Councilwoman Elia sat in silence, her spirit nearly broken. Her people had done everything right. They had trusted the council, signed every treaty, avoided every war. But in the end, no one came. That night, the lights in the bunker dimmed. Power was running low. Supplies were running out. One child asked her mother, "Is this the And the mother, holding back tears, said, maybe. But across space, engines roared. Human ships moved through the void like ghosts, silent, fast, deadly. They didn't send a message ahead. They didn't warn the enemy. They arrived just outside Velor's orbit and activated stealth mode. The enemy didn't even notice them. Not at first, but they would, because Earth had heard the silent cries, and Earth was coming. The human fleet drifted like shadows in the dark, just outside Velor's orbit. No lights, no sound, just silent ships built for one purpose: war. The Seventh Fleet, also known as the Black Storm, was made up of Earth's most advanced weapons. Each ship had been tested in the worst conditions. Each soldier had trained for years. These were not peacekeepers. They were protectors and punishers. Admiral Reyes stood at the command deck of the flagship Vindicator. His face was calm, but his eyes sharp like a hunter watching prey. Before him, a holographic map of Velor spun slowly, showing burning cities and enemy positions. Behind him, officers moved quickly, checking systems, preparing weapons, and waiting for one word. Go. A voice broke the silence. Sir, visual on enemy fleet confirmed. They're in low orbit, still bombarding Velorian settlements. Reyes nodded. Are they aware of us? No, sir. They haven't detected anything yet. Reyes turned to his comms officer. Send a message to the fleet. Simple and clear. No mercy. No delays. Secure Velor. All across the human fleet, the message repeated. Pilots tightened their suits. Marines checked their weapons. Drones powered up. Fighters moved into position. And just like that, the storm was ready. The attack began without a sound. Human ships dropped out of stealth one by one, unleashing waves of missiles and energy blasts. The first enemy cruiser never saw it coming. It exploded in seconds, sending debris across the sky. The second ship tried to turn, but a railgun shot from the Vindicator split it in half. In the first 3 minutes, 5 enemy ships were gone. The enemy fleet, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. But they didn't understand what they were facing. Earth's technology had advanced far beyond what most of the galaxy expected. Human drones moved like birds of prey, weaving through chaos with deadly precision. Fighters struck and vanished. Ground troops landed with speed, using drop pods that slammed into enemy-held zones with terrifying force. On Velor's surface, Velorians looked to the sky as fire and light filled the air. At first, they thought it was another attack, but then someone noticed the color of the ships. Black and silver, the mark of Earth. Whispers spread like wind. Humans. The humans came. Inside the mountain bunker, Councilwoman Elia stared at the screen in disbelief. For days, the maps had only shown red, enemy zones, destroyed cities. But now, blue icons were appearing, human forces, Earth soldiers. She grabbed the communicator and shouted to the survivors, "Help is here! Earth has come!" Tears filled her eyes. Not because the war was over, but because hope had returned. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, human Marines pushed forward with brutal force. They didn't care about territory. They cared about protection. Every town they entered, they found survivors and pulled them to safety. Every enemy unit they found, they destroyed without hesitation. Earth's orders were clear: secure Velor and crush those who dared attack it. One Marine squad, led by Sergeant Cade, moved through a ruined city block by block. Velorian civilians were trapped in a collapsed shelter. Cade's team used exosuits to lift the debris, carrying out children, elders, and wounded. A young Velorian girl clung to Cade's armored leg, asking, "Why are you helping us?" Cade looked down and simply said, "Because no one else did." In orbit, the battle raged. Enemy ships tried to retreat, but Earth's fleet boxed them in. Admiral Reyes watched as the last enemy command ship was surrounded. "Open a channel," he ordered. The enemy commander appeared on the screen, panicked, sweating, and furious. "You have no business here," he shouted. "This is not your war." Reyes replied coldly, "You made it ours the moment you attacked. The helpless." Then he gave the final order. Fire. One shot. One flash. The enemy ship was gone. All across the planet, the battle began to shift. The enemy, once so sure of their victory, started to break. Their commanders gave chaotic orders. Their soldiers ran or surrendered. In just a few hours, the balance of the war had changed. Earth didn't just fight, they dominated. But this was only the beginning. Reyes knew the enemy wouldn't forget this loss. More would come, stronger ones, and Earth would be ready. Because they didn't fight for power. They fought for justice. Back, in the bunker, Elia gave her people one more message. Her voice echoed across Velor. "We were abandoned, forgotten, left to die. But one world stood with us. One people heard our cries. Earth came. And because of them, we still stand." That night, for the first time in many days, Velor was not filled with fear. It was filled with light from above. And in that light, they saw the symbol of hope, a fleet that did not belong to kings or empires, but to humanity, and Earth was not done yet. The skies above Velor were no longer quiet. Smoke curled from burning ships and flashes of weapons lit the clouds. But for the first time since the war began, those lights brought hope instead of fear. Humanity had arrived, and with them came firepower the galaxy had not seen in years. The enemy fleet was falling apart. They had come expecting an easy victory. They thought Velor would be another nameless planet to conquer. But they hadn't planned for Earth's response. In just a few hours, they had lost more ships than in their last 3 invasions combined. Their commanders screamed into their radios, trying to regroup, but it was useless. Earth's 7th Fleet moved like a machine, fast, precise, deadly. Down on the planet's surface, the situation was just as brutal. Human drop pods had landed across all major zones. Armored Marines cleared buildings, scanned for survivors, and pushed enemy forces back, street by street. The air was filled with gunfire, distant explosions, and the steady thump of human boots. The enemy had better numbers, but humans had better everything else: gear, tech, and most of all, resolve. Sergeant Cade and his squad had made it to the edge of Velor's largest ruined city, Drenos. Fires still burned in the distance. Cries for help echoed from the broken buildings. "Move in teams of 2, Cade ordered, checking his scanner. "We find civilians, we bring them out. We see enemy units, we neutralize them. No mistakes." The squad moved fast. Inside a collapsed building, they found a family hiding under metal beams. A child coughed, his skin gray from smoke. One soldier quickly gave the child an oxygen mask. The father looked up, shocked. You're human?" he whispered. "Yes," Cade said. "And you're not alone anymore." In another zone, human drones flew above the streets scanning for ambushes. One drone picked up heat signatures inside a crater, an enemy ambush team waiting to strike a group of Velorian refugees. The drone didn't hesitate. It dropped a small explosive charge, perfectly aimed. The enemy never got the chance to attack. Admiral Reyes, watching from the flagship Vindicator, listened as reports came in. "Eastern cities secure. Refugee. Column recovered. Enemy cruiser down." But then came something different. "Sir," said the intel officer, "we picked up an enemy signal. Looks like a command transmission." Reyes turned. "Source?" "Deep in the northern wastelands. Mountains, heavy shielding, likely a base." Reyes narrowed his eyes. "So that's where they're hiding." He knew what that meant. The enemy wasn't finished. Not yet. They had dug in somewhere remote, away from sensors. Maybe they were preparing a counterattack. Maybe they were protecting a secret. Either way, Reyes didn't wait. He called in Strike Team Ember, Earth's elite ground unit, known for silent but deadly operations. The Ember team dropped at night. No lights, no sound. They moved across the cold desert like ghosts, cloaked and fast. When they reached the enemy base, they saw tall spires of metal rising from the sand. Strange machines glowed inside. One of the team members scanned it. "This isn't just a base," he said. "It's a weapon platform." Back on Vindicator, Reyes got the full report. The enemy had been building a planet killer, a weapon designed to destroy Velor's core. If they had finished it, the entire planet would have cracked in half. Everyone would have died. The decision was clear. "Destroy it," Reyes said. Strike. Team Ember planted charges and retreated. Moments later, the entire mountain shook with a giant explosion. The base vanished in flames. The shock wave was so strong, even ships in orbit saw the blast. Velor had been saved again, just seconds away from extinction. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the shattered cities. But this sunrise felt different. It wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something new. Survivors came out of hiding. Valorian medics worked side by side with human doctors. Soldiers shared food with rescued families. Children laughed again. Councilwoman Alaya stood in the middle of a refugee camp, looking around. "They came," she whispered to herself. "They really came." Nearby, a reporter from Earth's media recorded the scene. His voice was quiet, but strong. No treaties brought them. No rewards were promised. Earth came because it was the right thing to do. And in this war, they became legends. Even the enemy, scattered and broken, realized what had happened. Their communication channels were full of panic. "We didn't expect this," one commander said. "We thought humanity was quiet, weak, civilized." A reply came from one of his officers, trembling. "They are civilized, but they're also something else." "What?" "Dangerous, because humans didn't fight for profit. They didn't conquer for glory. They fought for people, for justice, for those who were forgotten, and the galaxy was beginning to notice. The enemy was losing, but they didn't want to admit it. Their fleet had been broken. Their secret weapon had been destroyed. But some of their ships still floated above Velor. Some of their troops still hid in the ruins, trying to regroup. They were desperate now. They no longer fought to win. They fought to escape. Admiral Reyes knew this was the most dangerous part. A cornered enemy could do anything. And Earth's mission wasn't over yet. He gathered his senior officers on the command deck of the Vindicator. The hologram showed remaining enemy zones. Reyes pointed to the areas still red. "These pockets, small but stubborn. We finish this. We don't leave until every Valorian is safe." On the surface, Earth's Marines continued their advance. Their armor was dusty, their faces tired, but they moved with focus. They knew what they were doing mattered. Every building they cleared, every civilian they rescued, it was another blow to fear. In Sector 7, Sergeant Cade's squad had been in constant battle for 2 days. They were deep in enemy-held ruins, pushing through collapsed tunnels and smoke-filled streets. One of the newer soldiers, Private Lee, looked up at the broken sky and whispered, "I didn't think it would be this bad." Cade glanced at him. "It's worse for the people we're here to save. Keep moving." They found a group of Valorian children hiding under a destroyed rail station. Some were injured, shaking from hunger and cold. Cade's squad quickly secured the area, gave them food and thermal blankets. One girl held a small toy and looked up. "Will you stay?" she asked. Cade knelt beside her. "No, but we won't let the bad ones come back." A few streets away, enemy troops had set a trap. They had explosives wired to a large refugee center, hoping to blow it up when Earth's forces arrived. But they didn't expect human drones to scan the area first. One drone spotted the trigger device. Another disarmed it from a distance. Within minutes, the entire enemy team was surrounded and taken down. Word of Earth's actions began spreading fast across the galaxy. News channels picked up footage from Velor. Images of human soldiers carrying injured civilians, of medics treating the wounded, of Earth ships in the sky like guardians. On planets across space, people watched with wide eyes. Many had ignored Velor's call for help. But now, they were watching Earth do what others wouldn't. On a distant colony world, a young alien boy asked his father, "Why didn't we help Velor?" The father had no answer. In the Galactic Council's main chamber, leaders argued. Some said Earth had acted without permission. Others said Earth had done what the Council should have. But one thing was clear. Earth was no longer silent. And they were not afraid to act. Back on Velor, Earth's forces prepared for the final push. The last stronghold of the enemy was a massive industrial complex at the edge of the capital city. It had thick walls, auto turrets, and high ground. A direct attack would cost lives, but Earth didn't come for slow victories. They came with strategy. Admiral Reyes ordered a multi-directional assault. Drones would strike first, followed by air-to-ground missiles. Then, armored divisions would hit the gates while stealth teams entered from underground. The goal, take the stronghold with minimum losses. The plan began at dawn. Velorians watched from rooftops as human drones filled the sky. The enemy fired. Everything they had. But Earth's tech was too advanced. Explosives fell, targets were hit, and fire rose. Then came the thunder, the sound of Earth's tanks rolling through the streets. The enemy fired back, but human shields held. Soldiers moved in tight formation, covering each other, advancing without pause. Underground, a strike team led by Lieutenant Rios reached the enemy control room. The battle was short. When it was over, the power to the base was cut. Turrets stopped. Gates fell open. Human forces flooded in. The enemy surrendered. What was left of them? Inside the base, Earth soldiers found something unexpected. A room full of stolen data, maps, battle reports, and a long list of planets the enemy had already attacked or planned to. Velor wasn't the first. It wouldn't have been the last. Rios uploaded everything to Vindicator. When Admiral Reyes saw the files, his jaw clenched. They've been hunting peaceful worlds, wiping out any that couldn't fight back. He looked around the command deck and said quietly, "No more." Later that night, a large gathering was held at the center of Velor's ruined capital. Velorians stood beside human soldiers. There was no stage, no lights, just people, survivors. Side by side, Councilwoman Elia stepped forward. Her voice was tired but strong. "We were abandoned, left to die, but the humans, they came. Not for glory, not for power. They came because we needed help." She paused, then raised her hand toward the stars. They brought fire, they brought fury, and with it, they brought hope. Cheers rose from the crowd, and somewhere in the dark, far across the stars, the enemies of peace watched and wondered, who would Earth defend next? The war for Velor was finally over, but Earth's mission had only just begun. Inside the command center of the Vindicator, Admiral Reyes stood over a table full of enemy data, reports, invasion routes, target lists. It wasn't just Velor. The enemy had been planning to strike many other peaceful worlds, some already under attack, some marked for future invasions. Entire civilizations were on those lists. Some Reyes had never even heard of. One officer stepped forward. "Sir, this enemy force is part of a larger network. We've confirmed at least 6 more fleets in deep space, each one strong enough to destroy a planet like Velor." Reyes didn't hesitate. "Prepare the fleet. We're not just cleaning up, we're going hunting." Back on Velor, the survivors were slowly starting to rebuild. Streets were still broken, buildings still damaged. But there was life again. Human engineers helped repair energy grids. Medical teams set up mobile hospitals. Even Earth's AI drones were reprogrammed to assist with construction. Valorian children watched them curiously as they floated by, humming softly while placing blocks or welding metal. Sergeant Cade and his squad had been given a rare break. For the first time in days, they weren't fighting. They were helping distribute food and supplies in the southern districts. Cade sat on a broken bench, sharing water with a young Valorian boy who had lost both parents. "Why did you come?" the boy asked quietly. "You don't even know us." Cade looked at him, then pointed to the sky. "Because one day, someone might attack our home too, and we hoped someone would come for us." The boy nodded slowly, holding the water bottle, close. But peace didn't last long. On the fourth day after victory, a human scout ship, Falcon 9, sent an emergency transmission from a nearby system. A peaceful colony called Neros Prime had gone silent. No comms, no trade signals. It had been on the enemy's list. Admiral Reyes listened carefully to the recording. There was static, then a short, panicked voice. "This is Neros Prime. They're here. Burning everything. We need..." Then silence. He turned to his fleet commanders. "Set course. Full speed. We leave within the hour." The people of Velor tried to protest. "You just saved us. You haven't even rested." But Reyes simply said, "You're safe now. Others are not." The Vindicator and the rest of the 7th Fleet left Velor like thunder, vanishing into the stars once more. On the way to Neros Prime, preparations began. Soldiers rearmed, ships reloaded, drones were restocked. This time, there would be no mercy. Earth had seen what these invaders could do. They would not allow another Velor. When the fleet arrived at the edge of the Neros system, the silence was thick. The colony's main city was already in flames. The enemy fleet hovered above like vultures, confident and careless, just like before. But this time, Earth wasn't going to wait. Admiral Reyes gave one command: full assault. No warnings. The human ships unleashed everything: missiles, lasers, railguns, drones. The enemy tried to respond, but Earth's strategy was faster, smarter. Fighters came from above and below, striking the weak points. Human Marines used drop pods, again, slamming into enemy positions and clearing them with brutal precision. On the ground, the battle was fierce. Fires roared through the forests of Neros Prime, but wherever the enemy struck, humans struck harder. In the middle of the battle, a human squad found a group of Neros survivors hiding in a shelter. One elder looked up, coughing from the smoke, and asked, "Are you from the council?" The soldier replied, "No, we're from Earth." The elder's eyes filled with tears. "You came." Back in orbit, the final enemy cruiser tried to escape, firing wildly as it moved toward the system's edge. But the Vindicator locked on and fired a direct plasma shot. The enemy ship exploded in a bright blue light. Within hours, Neros Prime was safe. But Reyes wasn't satisfied. He gathered his officers again. "This isn't defense anymore. It's a message. They think no one will fight back. We show them they're wrong." Across the stars, Earth's reputation began to change. They were no longer seen as a quiet, distant world. Now they were something else: a force, a shield, a warning. Other species began to speak of the humans with a new tone. "They don't ask for help," one alien diplomat said. "But if you cry out, they answer. And when they do, they come with fire." On Velor, the survivors lit candles on the rooftops every night in memory of the dead and in honor of the humans. Children began drawing pictures of Earth soldiers with stars around their heads. One school even changed its name, the Guardians of Earth Academy. Sergeant Cade, now back aboard the fleet, received a message from Elia. "We will never forget. You answered our cries. And now we will teach our children not to fear the stars, but to believe in them again. The war wasn't over, but the galaxy had changed, because when Earth came, they didn't come with empty promises. They came with fire and fury. The name Earth was now being whispered across every corner of the galaxy, not with fear, but with respect. From ruined colonies to distant trading posts, stories were being told about how Earth had responded when no one else did, about how their ships appeared from the dark, silent and deadly, about how their soldiers walked through, fire to pull civilians from rubble, and about how they destroyed anyone who threatened the helpless. But the enemy wasn't finished. They were angry now. They had lost Velor. They had failed on Nero's Prime, and they could feel Earth rising like a storm. So they made a new plan. Strike. Earth itself. Far out in uncharted space, the enemy gathered their remaining fleets. Not just one armada, but 3. United under a single banner. Their new leader, General Korath, was ruthless. He didn't care about honor or conquest. He wanted to break the humans, to send a message to the rest of the galaxy. Even Earth can fall. But Earth wasn't blind. The 7th Fleet had captured enough data to guess something was coming. Admiral Reyes studied the patterns carefully. "They're not retreating," he said. "They're regrouping." He stood before the high command on Earth, projecting the holograms in the war room. "They're coming for us. We can wait to be hit, or we can go meet them." Some generals wanted to stay back, protect Earth. But Reyes made it clear, Earth isn't a shield, it's a sword, and we don't wait for fear to knock. We break it before it reaches the door. The decision was made, a preemptive strike. The largest fleet Earth had ever deployed, over 400 ships, was sent into deep space. Not to defend, but to end the war. Before they left, people gathered across Earth's cities to see them off. Giant screens showed the fleets lifting into the sky. Children waved flags. Veterans saluted. Even those who had once doubted Earth's place in the galaxy now stood proud. And high above, in the command tower of the Vindicator, Reyes gave a simple order. "Let's finish what they started." The journey through deep space took days. They passed through empty systems, long forgotten, war zones and asteroid belts. Scouts flew ahead, searching for enemy signs, and then they found it. The enemy armadas, waiting in a dark system with no suns, thousands of ships, a massive central station built like a fortress, weapons charged, shields active. They were ready for war, but so was Earth. Reyes called a fleet-wide transmission. His voice echoed across every human ship. "They thought we were weak. They thought we would run, but we don't run. We don't kneel. We rise. We fight. We protect. Today, we show them what happens when you strike the innocent. Today, we end it." The battle began. Human warships moved like blades, slicing through the darkness. Fighters danced between beams of energy. Drones flew in perfect formation, disrupting enemy sensors. Human railguns punched holes in enemy cruisers, while stealth bombers dropped payloads directly onto the central station's shields. The enemy fired back with everything they had. Massive beams tore through space. Explosions shook the void. Entire ships vanished in blinding flashes. But Earth didn't break. They pushed forward. Sergeant Cade led a boarding team onto an enemy carrier. They fought through tight corridors, grenades flashing, bullets ringing. Cade threw an enemy soldier over a railing and shouted to his team, "Take the core room! Disable the engines!" On the other side of the battlefield, human AI drones sacrificed themselves to clear a path, for the Vindicator to move in closer. Reyes knew what had to be done. The central station was the key. Destroy it, and the enemy would fall apart. He ordered a final strike. 12 heavy cruisers moved into firing range. Plasma cannons spun up. Railguns locked on. Fighters escorted the shots, ensuring they hit their marks. Then, impact. The central station exploded from within, its reactors melting down in a chain reaction. The shockwave knocked out dozens of nearby enemy ships, and just like that, the heart of the enemy was gone. The remaining enemy ships tried to flee, but Earth gave no second chances. The fleet moved like a storm, chasing down the last survivors. By the end of the day, the enemy armadas were ashes in space. The war was over, truly over. On board the Vindicator, the crew stood in silence, not cheering, not laughing, just quiet. Pride. They had done what no one else had dared. They hadn't just saved one planet, they had changed the galaxy. The battlefield was quiet now. Where once thousands of enemy ships filled the darkness, only wreckage floated. Broken metal. Silence. Ashes of an empire that had thought it could destroy the helpless. But it was over. Humanity had done what no one expected. They had not only fought back, they had won. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. Earth had ended the war, not with politics, not with endless talks, but with fire, with fury, with purpose. On Earth, people watched in awe. The massive screens in every city showed the Vindicator returning, its hull scorched but still standing tall. Human soldiers, tired but proud, stepped down to cheers, to flowers thrown from balconies, to children reaching out just to touch them. Sergeant Cade walked through the landing zone with his helmet under his arm. Reporters rushed toward him, asking questions, begging for quotes. But he simply said, "We were just doing what was right." Back on Velor, the skies were peaceful again. Where warships once fired, now human cargo ships delivered medicine, food, tools, and hope. Cities were being rebuilt, families reunited. For the first time in years, the people of Velor could sleep without fear. Councilwoman Elia stood in front of the Galactic Assembly, addressing the same leaders who had ignored Velor's pleas. She looked at each of them, her voice calm but firm. "We begged for help and you stayed silent. We asked for support and you turned away. But Earth heard us. They came when no one else did. They fought when all others watched. Today, Velor stands because of them." The chamber was silent. Some lowered their heads. Others shifted uncomfortably, but none could argue. Elia continued, "We no longer look to the Council for protection. We now look to Earth, and we invite all others to do the same, not out of fear, but out of hope." Later, the Galactic Assembly sent a formal message to Earth. Not just an apology, but a request. Lead us. They wanted Earth to take a place at the head of the Council. Not just as a member, but as a guide, a guardian, a voice of action in a galaxy of delay. Admiral Reyes received the message while standing in Earth's Hall of Heroes, where names of the fallen were being etched into a monument. He didn't smile. He simply said, "We didn't come for titles. We came because someone had to." Still, Earth agreed to help, but on one condition: no more silence. If any world called for help, it would not be ignored again. A new alliance was formed, led by Earth, with one simple law: when the weak cry out, we respond. When darkness rises, we rise higher. And if fire is needed, then fire we bring. That law spread fast. Soon new worlds began to reach out. Peaceful planets, once afraid to speak, now sent signals, no longer worried they'd be ignored. Earth sent teams, not armies this time, but advisors, builders, teachers, protectors. The same humans once called primitive were now the ones the galaxy trusted most. And among those who once laughed at Earth's weakness, there was only silence now. In a quiet valley on Velor, a statue was raised. It showed a human soldier holding the hand of a Velorian child, leading them out of a burning building. At the bottom of the statue were words carved in both languages. They heard our cries when no one else did. On Earth, life moved forward, but something had changed forever. Humanity was no longer alone in the stars. They had not only earned a place among the stars, they had taken it with fire and fury, and from that day on, whenever a call for help echoed. Through the dark, the galaxy hoped it would be Earth who answered.